Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. This week's top 10 list is the top 10 silver certificates. Top 10 silver certificates. Now, I've got a couple small size notes. I got, mostly large size notes, but there's a little bit of everything in there. And, well, silver certificates are what we are the most familiar with when it comes to using a piece of paper to represent currency. Silver certificates quite literally did that. For every dollar in silver paper money, there was a dollar's worth of silver put away in the treasury. So we are all quite familiar with silver certificates. So I decided, let's do a top 10 of silver certificates. Now, there are quite a few silver certificates, and there were a couple that I wanted to include, but there were more. They didn't make the top 10. So I do have a couple of honorable mentions. So let's knock those out of the way first. First honorable mention, this one is the 1923 $1 silver certificate. This is the last large size last large size silver certificate. 1928 started the small size notes. So when you see this particular note, first of all, most people are shocked at the size. And the first time I ever ran across one of these notes, I thought it was fake money. It wasn't in a holder. It was just sitting on a table. It was at my grandfather's house. In fact, I remember playing with his old pennies, and I remember seeing this and just assuming that this wasn't real. The 1923 $1 silver certificate is real. Really is that big, and it looks so familiar to the stuff that we're used to seeing that it just screams, well, it has to be fake because why is it so big? But nope, that is the real deal, and that's that's one of my honorable mentions. My other honorable mention, this is the 1899 mini porthole note. Now, I had to narrow my list down to a top 10, and once I did that, I just ran out of room for the mini porthole. I'm sure that has more to do with the fact that my particular mini porthole isn't in the greatest of shape and it's got a torn corner. Most of the $2 bills had a torn corner because $2 bills were believed to be bad luck. So what people would do is they would tear off a corner when they got it. The way to break the curse of the unlucky $2 bill was to tear one corner off, pass it on to somebody else. They would tear a corner, pass it on, and once all four corners were torn by four different people, that would break the curse. If one person tried to do it all four corners by themselves, that would do nothing for the curse. You had to have multiple people do it. No coaching allowed. You just had to, you couldn't take it to your four neighbors and go, hey, tear a corner off of this. It had to be done the right way. I don't make up the curses. I'm just informing you of what they were. Anyway, the mini porthole note, this particular one is 1899. A very cool series. Like I said, the only reason it didn't make my top 10 is because my particular note isn't really in the greatest of shape, and I haven't had the gumption to upgrade it yet. I'm still tracking down different notes to complete my collection before I worry too much about upgrades. When I find an upgrade, I will make sure to pick it up and probably rank this one a little bit higher. But yeah, I only had room for 10, so this one just missed. Anyway, those are my two honorable mentions. Let's get to the actual top 10 list. Number 10 on my list. Going along the lines of condition, like I said, that last one wasn't in the greatest of shape, so it didn't rank very high to me. This note is in incredible condition, therefore it does rank pretty high to me. What this is a 1934 $1 silver certificate. The $1 silver certificate from 1934 is known as the funny back. That's right, the 1934 funny back. Now you have to understand that around this time is when the game Monopoly came out. And when Monopoly created their money, they looked to the $1 bill for inspiration as to what the Monopoly money should look like. Unfortunately, this back was then replaced in 1935, and we are all familiar with the vast number of 1935 series notes that have been printed, A through H, if I recall. And those have normal backs. I say that because 35 years of staring at a particular back, that makes this oddball, once it does surface, pretty funny looking, thus funny back. Now, these aren't that expensive to get, and because they're not that expensive to get, I always would recommend getting one that's in really nice shape. It's not often you can get a really nice bill for like 20, 25 bucks. And yeah, everybody's got 20 bucks in their pocket. If you can find one of these in great shape, go for it. This is a great way to get a really nice example of a really cool note in your collection. That's number 10. Number 9. Number 9 is from 1923. It is the large size $5 silver certificate. This one features Abraham Lincoln, and this is known as the Porthole. The perfect circle surrounding Lincoln there makes it look like he's looking out of a window on a ship, thus the name the Porthole note. Now, this particular one is from 1923. Take a quick peek at the back. Now, the 1923 series used this circular shape and these rays in a lot of their designs. In fact, you're going to see a little bit more of that a little later on in this list. But it's the iconic look of the 1923 series. I do not have one of these. It is on my wish list to get the $5 silver certificate known as the Porthole from 1923. That one is number 9 on my list. Number 8. You knew these would be on there somewhere. This particular one is an 1896 $1 silver certificate. $1 silver certificate from 1896 is known as the Educational Series. They made a 1, a 2, and a 5. These were silver certificates. Everybody recalls these as educational notes. They were put out to help educate the public. This particular one was basically about history. If you look on the back, you have George Washington and Martha Washington. Martha Washington appeared on the $1 bill in 1886, I believe. And anyway, you got George and Martha on the back. You've got the names of a lot of historical figures in American history. And just take a quick peek at all those. And most of us, even to this day, recognize a lot of these names. So yeah, that is pretty cool. Right there, active August 4th, 1886 was what made these silver certificates valid. Now, this one actually has the Constitution of the United States, and I don't know if I can zoom any closer without it blurring out, but you can actually read it. So that is really cool. The background of this note shows Washington, D.C. You can see the Washington Monument. There's the Capitol there. The Potomac River, obviously. And this is, I believe it's entitled History Instructing Youth, is the name on this particular one. The blue numbers, of course, indicate that it's a silver certificate. You get one silver dollar right here. Taking a quick look at the back once again. Beautiful scrolling. This one here is actually in really decent shape. A 25. The color's bright on the back. A little bit of rust, a little bit of a crease, but overall in really good shape. That is my 1896 one silver dollar. That is number 8 on my list. Number 7. Number 7, I'm going with the 1886 $10 silver certificate known as the Tombstone. Tombstone note, this note did carry on. There was a 1907 series as well that had a blue seal, but you can see here 10 silver dollars from the United States of America, of course. The date on it right over here, 1886. And this one features Vice President Hendricks, who was the vice president in 1885 and died in office in November of 1885. That's how he ended up on the 1886 version of the $10 bill. It's called the Tombstone note because of the shape, and of course because the person inside the shape passed away in office. Once again, silver certificate. It doesn't have a blue seal on this one, but it does have the blue numbers. So once again, staying with the blue theme. That's the back of the note right there. So that is number 7, 1098. Number 7, $10 silver certificate, 1886. Number 6, also from the 1886 series. This one is the Martha Washington $1 silver certificate. This one is the real deal, graded 15 on this particular one. You can see the blue numbers, once again representing silver certificate. It says $1 silver dollar. And this is one of those few bills that actually says $1 silver dollar has been deposited. A lot of the notes will say in silver, just in silver, general. Rather than specifying a silver dollar, because, well, silver was starting to change in price a little bit. But back at this point, $1 was a silver dollar, and they would have $1 silver dollar set aside to represent this, because, well, If you had $100 silver, that's pretty tough to carry around compared to a $100 bill, or even 100 singles. I carry 100 singles all the time, and that's still easier to manage than 100 $1 coins. Anyway, this is the 1886 $1 Martha Washington 1886 $1 silver certificate. Take a peek at the back here. You can see there's a lot of color on the back. This was before they decided to start exposing more of the white background to make it tougher for counterfeiters. By seeing the white background, you were able to see a lot of the red and blue fibers. If I zoom in on here, you can probably make out, yep, there's a red one right there. You can see a blue one right here. So yeah, you can see the red and blue fibers on this, even though this was 1886. They actually used that technology all the way back in 1862 when it all started. So that is number 6 on my list, 10987. Number 6, 1886 Martha Washington. Number 5, my 1899 $1 silver certificate. This is my Black Eagle. My Black Eagle $1 silver certificate, one of the most iconic notes out there. You've got that Black Eagle. When you get one of these in really nice shape, it's just really cool to look at. Once again, you can see those red and blue fibers very boldly when you got a note that's in good shape like this one, the clean fields like that. Now, this one shows a much better example of the blank spaces used on the notes, leaving those open spaces like that to help deter counterfeiters so that you could get those colored fibers to show through. The $1 1899 silver certificate is the only note to feature 2 presidents. Features Lincoln right there, and it features Ulysses S. Grant right there. The $1 Silver Eagle from 1899, this one is number 5 on my list. And I'm sure you guys have all noticed that for the majority of these notes, I've been using the real ones. The only ones that weren't real, the 5 is a replica, my 10 is a replica. All the rest of these, I brought out the real deals just to make this one look a little nicer. All right, that was number 5, 1098765. Yep. Number 4, going with the 1896 $2 educational note. $2 educational note from 1896. This one, let's see, graded 25. This note is really nice for in my collection. I just don't understand the 25 grade. It's in much better shape than 25. I was informed by somebody that it may have been cleaned, so the black is a little bit faded. So it was probably cleaned and pressed, and somebody said it might have been trimmed as well to make the sides even. But still, rather than putting details on it, or they did put minor repairs, but rather than giving it a 25 net, or a 35 net, they just gave it a 25. They lowered the grade on this particular bill. Anyway, this one is about science. Science on this particular bill, if I remember correctly, let's see what we got here. If I can get it to focus. Science, nope, can't read it. Definitely time for new glasses for me. Even when I zoom in, I can't read it. It just won't focus, that's all. Anyway, science and industry is what this one is here. And let's see, just the scrolling of this doesn't even look like currency. This is just ridiculous. On the back, you've got Fulton and Samuel Morse, the inventor of Morse code, inventor of the, let's see, Fulton was the steam engine, if I recall. I think so, among other things. Anyway, the 1896 $2 educational note, like I said, doesn't look like currency, doesn't look like something we'd be spending. This looks like a picture in an art gallery, and that was by design, because most people in 1896 didn't have access to museums and didn't have access to seeing great works of art. Part of the reason how this became the educational series, it was a way to put extremely fine art into people's pockets, rather than forcing them to travel hundreds of miles, either by walking or riding a horse, to get to a main city to see some of these museums. Like I said, by making it part of the currency, they were putting a little bit of a little bit of inspiration in everybody's pocket. Anyway, that is number 4 on my list. Number 3. This is right here, 1886. Why won't it focus? 1880. There it is. No, 1886. Sorry. 1886 $5 silver certificate. This is the Morganback silver certificate. Now, this is one of the toughest notes to get. Mine is not in the greatest of shape. You can see that the seal here has been kind of bleached off of it, and there was a hole dead center right there, and somebody had patched it, which is really impressive, actually, because when you flip it over, if I don't tell you that there's a hole, you ain't going to see it until you zoom in right there and see how it was colored and shaded and made to look pretty good. Anyway, this is the 1886 $5 silver certificate with the Morgans on the back. Features Ulysses S. Grant, one of the toughest notes to get because that particular back design was dropped. It was only used in this year, I think 1870, was it 1876? 1871 maybe. That's when they changed this over. Sorry, this was 1886. I think it was 1891, not 1871. 1891, they changed it to a different design. But the Morganback $5 note actually has 5 Morgan silver dollars on the back. Very high demand note, very tough to get. This note, if it was in pristine condition, is going to run roughly $35,000. I did not spend $35,000 on this note. That's why I got one that's got a patched hole and why it's got a bleached seal on it. Because if I had $35,000 just to throw away, I'd probably be in Vegas a little more often. Anyway, that's my 1886 $5 Morganback silver dollar certificate. Number two, going with the 1889 $5 Chief Note. $5 Chief Note from 1899. If you can get one of these in decent condition, first and foremost, you're going to pay up for it. But secondly, you are going to appreciate it. Just the way that the text is here, the font that they used, giving it that 3D look on that particular background. So cool. You get Chief running antelope in the center there. Just an iconic image. And if your note has a clean background, the blue on these seals definitely pop. Mine's got a stain on it right here. I know if I hold the note like this is an incredibly good note. I thought about trying to take out that stain, but I figured, I'm not going to mess with it. This note is in really good shape except for that stain, so why mess with a good thing? That is the $5 Chief Note from 1899. This note was one of the replacement notes for the Educational Series. The Educational Series came out in 1896, and after 3 years, it was yanked, and they had to come up with a new design. So for making quick work, this was quite impressive. That was number 2. What's number 1? Well, I talked about it already, the 1896 $5 silver certificate. 1896 $5 silver certificate. This particular note was the troublemaker note for the Educational Series. This note depicts electricity. You can see the lightning bolts coming off of the sword and hitting the torch, and then the light coming out from that torch. Now, the problem with the note is they forgot to have the model get dressed. And being the central figure, the American people of the time said, we will not have pornography in our pockets, and demanded the notes be taken out of circulation, which they were, and in 1899 we got the new series. But the 1896 $5 silver certificate was the note that caused all the controversy. Take a look at the back. You've got Ulysses S. Grant and Sheridan on the back. You've got the Raiders of the Lost Ark Angel. $5 silver certificate from 1896. The number 1 silver certificate to have, in my opinion. Anyway, that's what I've got for you guys this week. If you agree with my list, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. I love reading your guys' comments. If you have an idea for a list, put that down in the comments, and I will try to get to it. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next week.